from the rules page here on top, I can activate Criterion Hub's advanced mode, but please bear in mind that access to the advanced mode depends on the plan to which you are subscribed. So if you don't see the option but would like to access it, contact Adspert support team or your assigned client success manager. In the advanced mode, you have 4 different levels at which you can set rules: platform, accounts, campaigns, and ad groups. Platform and account level are very generic rules that will apply to all of your campaigns that are part of any given platform or account for which you set the rule. On campaign level, you can set rules for specific campaigns, and on the ad group level, you can go even further and use already existing ad groups and campaigns, but we'll get into that in just a moment. Please bear in mind that rules have an inherent hierarchy, so rules from higher levels like platform and accounts will be inherited by all lower levels like campaign or ad groups, unless there's a custom rule set on one of the lower levels. So let's start on the higher levels here, platform and account. Both of them look like quite the same, so I will just stay here on the account level. And if I open up one of the rules here, you will see the default rules that Adspert uses as a standard. So let's go through them one by one. The add keyword rule here refers to adding keywords from an auto campaign into a manual campaign. As you can see, we have a couple of things that happen here. First of all, within the same ad group, we set the keyword to negative, meaning in the auto campaign, we set it a negative exact and negative phrase. And at the same time, Adspert will set the keyword suggestion as exact and phrase in a new manual campaign with an keyword ad group. And this applies to all keyword suggestions that have 4 or less words. And for any keywords that have a higher word count, the rule down here, the catch-all, will apply. And in this case, we only use the exact match type, and that's related to the permitted keyword length on Amazon. The next rule further down here is exclude keywords. And this is something that happens very rarely, as Adspert is usually more conservative, which means that usually keywords aren't just excluded if they have a bad performance. Adspert prefers to lower the bids if needed until the allowed minimum bid, which gives the possibility to then increase the bids again if that keyword should become relevant in the future. But sometimes there are keywords that should be set to negative straight away, and it's for those cases that there's like the exclude keyword rule here. And we also have an exclude ASIN pad rule, which is the same rule, but in this case, the logic refers to the ASINs instead of keywords. These rules, you can just leave them as they are. There aren't many things to adjust here, so the best is just leave them in review mode, so you can just keep an eye on any negative suggestions that Adspert makes here. The other part that is important for you is the add ASIN rule here, which refers to ASINs being added from the auto into the manual campaign. In this case, similar to the keyword additions, Adspert sets the ASIN to negative in the auto campaign and adds it into the pad ad group in the manual campaign that it creates. So let's go ahead and edit these rules, starting with the ASIN rule here. I go to add edit, and then I get to duplicate and edit rule, which means that all my fields will be pre-populated. If you select add new rule, you would have to make all the selections yourself. So you can go here, and as you can see, there's not much you can select. You could, for example, choose to not set the ASIN to negative in the auto campaign by deleting it here. And you can choose the mode here, for example, going into add mode. But that's like pretty much all that you can do here. The story is a bit different on the add keyword rule. There we can also go into edit and the duplicate and edit mode here. And the first thing you see is a keyword count. So you have your sub rule here, like our first rule, which is a general rule where we tell Adspert to set the keyword on negative in the auto campaign and then create a manual campaign with a keyword add group adding exact and phrase here. And then down here we have our catch-all sub rule, which tells Adspert what to do with a keyword that consists of more than 4 words. So if we make an adjustment to the rule up here, I have to make sure to update the rule here as well. And just as in the ASIN rule, you can switch between like the different modes from review to add, for example. And then the really interesting part is here in the middle, going to our general rule. So by default, Adspert will create a manual campaign for your auto campaign with an add group here for the keywords in exact and phrase. And this is something that you can select here on the left. For example, under single campaign, you see I have the keyword add group selected. But if you don't want your keywords to all go into the same add group, what you can do is tell Adspert to, for example, create separate add groups within the manual campaign that is going to be created. So you can select the exact and phrase add group here in the left under the single campaign. And you see here on the right, like my match type is already selected, so I don't have to do anything else here. You could also do the same, not using one campaign with different add groups, but for example, using directly 2 separate campaigns. So you have Adspert create one exact match campaign and one phrase match campaign for your auto campaign. Of course, all the time you can also just like update what happens in the auto campaign. For example, if you only want to set a keyword on negative exact, or maybe if you don't want to set keywords on negative in your auto campaign, you can just update that here. Besides working with match type keywords, you can also work with the type of keywords. For example, going back here into single campaign, I could tell Adspert to have different ad groups or different campaigns if I choose the campaign option here, based on the keyword type. So for example, if I have brand keywords, competitor keywords, or generic keywords. So for example, if you want a manual campaign with brand keywords, you can select brand here and choose a match type. Let's say in this case, we just like stick to the exact and phrase. And then you have to tell Adspert, what a brand keyword is. For that, we will go up here and change the filter from keyword count to keywords contains, and let's say we'll just work here with Adspert. I just hit enter, and I could also add like different keywords into my filter here. From there, you see I have my rule set. Then I can continue. Let's say I want to add also a let's have a competitor add group here, then I also select exact and phrase here, add my filter, so my keyword contains, and then, you know, I put in like my competitor names. With that, I have the next rule created. And then down here with the catch-all rule, I can use that one to tell Adspert, you know, what to do with keywords that are not brand and not competitor. So assuming, you know, that would be then a generic keyword. I come here to edit. You see, I don't have any filters here because I'm just telling Adspert what to do with all the keywords that don't match my filter. And then I come in here, again, update the standard keyword add group, then do a generic and say, okay, I want like exact and phrase here, and then exact and phrase being set to negative as well. And with this, we have updated our rules. I can save this one. And you see, when I now look at my rule here, I have all of my updates that I've made. I can see them here as well. Now let's go down here to the manual campaign. This is the next one here on the list, and as you can see, the setup is way less complex than in the auto campaign. Here what I can do again is like I need to look at the add keyword and add ASIN pad rules. If I go to edit, duplicate it again, you see I can change it to review mode, but then that's all I can do here. So this is very straightforward. The same here with the brand campaign. So here we just have keywords. Again, if I go to edit rule, you see I can switch the mode and then just like choose what to do here in my ad group, as it's like all happening within the same campaign and within the same ad group. You can always choose different match types, or also here setting keywords on negative. So all the rules that we update here, they apply to all of the campaigns within your account. However, like if you don't have one rule that applies to all of your campaigns in an account, you also have the possibility to set different rules on campaign level. For example, going in here and into this auto campaign, you see Adspert has already like taken over the rules that I have set here on account level just a few moments earlier. But again, I can go in here and set a specific rule that will then apply to this campaign and its ad groups, and will override the rules that I have just like set on account level. Let's assume I come in here, I want to adjust the rule for this campaign. And rather than having like a brand and competitor ad groups, I want to work with a different setup. So I can just like come in here and delete those rules. And then I can set a new rule here. So for example, let's say I want to separate my keyword suggestions by match type. I select the match types here, delete the old rule, and with that, I can already save my rule. So this will apply to the specific auto campaign again, we're talking about having Adspert create manual campaigns for you. But however, like on ad group level, you can actually set rules so that Adspert works with your already existing campaigns. This gives you a lot of flexibility because not only can you set standard rules further up that will allow you to save yourself a lot of work setting up, only an auto campaign and have Adspert do the rest in the creation of manual campaigns for you, and also the keyword harvesting. On ad group level, you can also tell Adspert to work with your already existing campaigns. You just have to come here, let's like into your auto campaign, go to like edit rules, and then you see here we have an additional option that we don't have on the higher levels, which is existing ad group. So for example, if you don't want Adspert, to create a new campaign, new ad groups for you, you can just delete them here. And then here on the left under existing ad group, you can choose one of your already existing campaigns. So in this case, let's choose the jeans campaign. And then let's say I want to stick with my exact and phrase match types. Then I just select them here. And with that, I will tell Adspert to use this campaign rather than create new ones for me. And then I can just confirm this. And then when I come into my manual campaign, I also go here into the add keyword rule. You see here it's also way more limited what you can set as rules, similar as on the higher levels. But again, you have the option of using an already existing ad group. So this is something that you have to set up once at the very beginning, and once it's set up, you can have it all pretty much like function automatically for you. Now let's go back into our auto campaign rule, and let's have a look here at the very bottom of the page where we have the product ad sync. So beside the keyword management and also the creation of manual campaigns, you can also have Adspert take care of your product ad sync, which you can see here at the bottom of the rule. And here you can see the current setup. So what happens with the auto manual campaign setup is that you can have Adspert keep those two campaign types in sync, meaning that if you add or remove products in your auto campaign, your manual campaigns can get adjusted automatically. So if you have campaigns that have been created by Adspert, the only mode that you can work with is override, as you can see here, which means that whatever happens in the auto campaign will be mirrored in the manual campaign. So in the manual campaign, Adspert deletes products if they've been taken out, or adds products if they've been added to the corresponding auto campaign. However, if you have a campaign that hasn't been created by Adspert, then you can also choose the option of add missing. And that means that if you delete products in your auto campaign, Adspert will not delete those products in your manual campaign. However, if you add products in your auto campaign, Adspert will add those missing products in your manual campaign. So it's not 100% synchronization, and that's why Adspert uses the override option as a standard for the campaigns created. So you can see that under rules, in this case, I can't edit it because this is a campaign that has been created by Adspert. But under Criterion Hub, product ad sync, I can also see, a list of all of my campaigns and their setup here. If I come to edit and let's say I choose a different campaign, maybe this is one that maybe I created, you see I have the option here between add missing and override. So I can choose how I want Adspert to work with my campaigns here. And please note that this only applies to Amazon Auto Manual Campaign combination. So you can't keep manual and manual campaigns in sync. And you will find plenty of information and helpful materials on all of the parts of the Criterion Hub feature in Adspert's Help Center. But you can also reach out to the support team via the chat or to your assigned client success manager if you have one.